You hear all the talk about the San Diego real estate market, right? It feels like a total puzzle lately. Is it up? Is it down? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise, look at the actual data, and figure out what is really going on.
So let's just get right to it. The question on everyone's mind, is San Diego's super hot market finally taking a breather, or is it still going strong? It feels like every headline you read tells you something completely different.
All right, so here's the fascinating thing. The real answer is, it's kind of doing both at the same time. The data is telling a wild tale of two completely different markets existing side by side, and we're about to break down exactly what that means.
Okay, first stop on this tour, the residential market. This is where people actually live. And right away, we see this huge split between single-family houses and things like condos and townhomes.
And wow, look at this. The numbers really lay out the affordability gap. A typical detached house is sitting just over $1 million. A condo? It's in the upper 600s. That is a massive difference, and it's totally shaping where buyers are even able to look.
Okay, now this is where the story gets really juicy. These two markets are literally moving in opposite directions. Prices for single-family homes, they've actually softened, dropping almost 3% from last year. But condo prices, they're still climbing, up over 3%. It's a classic case of affordability driving the train.
So you gotta ask, right? What's going on behind the scenes to cause this? Besides the obvious price difference. Well, a huge piece of that puzzle is all about supply.
Now, to really get this, we need to understand a key term you hear all the time, months of supply. Basically, it's like this. If nobody listed a new home for sale starting tomorrow, how long would it take to sell everything that's currently on the market? The magic number for a normal, healthy, balanced market is somewhere around 5 to 6 months.
Okay, so with that in mind, look at how it's playing out here. Yeah, both are still technically a seller's market. They're way below that 5-month balance point. But here's the key. The condo market has almost a full month more of supply, and that extra inventory gives buyers just a little more breathing room, a little more power.
And if you want one number that just screams change, here it is. A 45% jump in the number of condos and townhomes for sale compared to last year. That is a huge increase in choice for buyers, and it completely changes the feel of the market.
All right, let's switch gears. We've talked about where people live. Now let's talk about where they work, shop, and do business. And if you thought residential was a tale of two markets, well, the commercial sector is like 4 completely different novels playing out at once.
First up, the office market. And with the whole hybrid work thing still shaken out, this sector is feeling it big time. Right now, it is 100% a tenant's game.
And the key stat to know is 14.3%. That's how much office space is sitting empty. And for San Diego, that's pretty close to a record high. That's a ton of for lease signs out there, which means landlords have to get creative to get people in the door.
But then you pivot to the retail market. We're talking your local shopping centers, your storefronts, and it's a totally different story. Things are surprisingly solid and healthy.
Here, the vacancy rate is just 5.4%. That is a world of difference from what's happening in office space. Even with some big stores closing, there hasn't been a lot of new building, so supply has stayed tight. People are still out there shopping, and that's kept this sector humming.
So, story number 3, industrial real estate. This is all your warehouses, your distribution centers. For years, this market was just on fire, an absolute frenzy. And now, it's finally catching its breath. It's not crashing, it's just normalizing.
So you'll see the vacancy rate has ticked up to 7.5%, but don't let that fool you. That's not because demand disappeared. It's mostly because a bunch of new buildings just finished construction and came online all at once. The demand is still there, so the sector's fundamentals are still really strong.
And that brings us to our last piece of the commercial puzzle, multifamily. In other words, apartment buildings. And with the cost of buying a home being what it is, this has been the rock-solid foundation of the entire commercial scene.
Think about this. A vacancy rate around 5% means that for every 100 apartments in San Diego, 95 of them have people living in them. That is just incredibly tight. It really shows you why rental demand is so intense and why rents just don't seem to budge. So let's just put it all together on one screen. You've got the office sector, where tenants are in charge. Retail, just chugging along, nice and stable. Industrial is cooling off after a massive party. And multifamily is as strong as ever. Like we said, 4 sectors, 4 totally different tales.
Okay, so we've looked at the what and the why. Now for the big one. What's next? Let's take a peek into the crystal ball for the next 90 days or so and see how 2025 is probably going to wrap up.
There are really 3 main things to keep an eye on. First, things are going to get a little quiet for the holidays, which is totally normal. Second, those prices for detached homes will probably dip just a little bit more. And third, and this is a big one for buyers, you're going to have a little more power at the negotiation table.
So really, the market is set to finish the year with more of a whisper than a bang. We're not talking boom or not talking bust. It's just an adjustment. No big sudden shocks are on the horizon.
And if you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this. San Diego's market is adjusting. It is not crashing. We're simply moving out of that frantic, crazy phase and into something a bit more balanced. And you know what? That actually creates new kinds of opportunities for everybody involved.
And that's really the perfect place to leave it. As this market finds its new footing, finds its new equilibrium, it really makes you wonder, what's going to be the big curveball? What will be the biggest surprise waiting for all of us in 2026? Something to think about.